Indian art is wildly underappreciated. It's a crime. And so, it unfortunately stands to reason that Kolkata, India's artistic and cultural epicenter, is barely even mentioned when people talk about Indian tourism. I'm here to tell you, that needs to change. In just 48 hours in Kolkata, I experienced theater and sculpture, I toured one of the most iconic and beautiful monuments in the entire country, I visited a famous coffee shop, and I somehow accidentally ate dinner at a club. I can explain. This is the capital of West Bengal, Calcutta. I come from the world of theater and film in New York City, which is to say that I know a thing or two about how it feels to be surrounded by artists. I got off the flight, and right away I could feel that they were nearby. So yeah, I connected to Calcutta immediately. If you've been following my India series, you'll know that I had just come from visiting Varanasi, which was an incredible yet somewhat heavy and jarring experience. So, landing into a city in which art and culture was at the forefront was super comforting. The timing was perfect. One thing that I really loved about Varanasi was my experience with my tour guide Akash, and so I knew right away that I wanted to try and replicate that in Calcutta. And I definitely did. Not only was I able to book an amazing tour, but in pure Kolkata fashion, it also was a special tour that doubled as a one-woman theatrical show. So the name of the tour is already artistic as hell. It's called A Sea of Faces and 1,000 Places. It was facilitated by my guide, a Kolkata local actor named Paulami. The tour, in true artistic fashion, doesn't hit some of the major sites of Kolkata like the Victoria Memorial, but instead opts for a more historical and cultural approach. Along the way, at every stop, there were these scripted pieces of dialogue which Paulami would recite. She was sort of playing the character of the city itself, explaining its history as the former capital of India, and much of the conflict that took place under the British occupation. We hit so many fascinating parts of the city, including an extended stop at St. John's Church, one of the first public buildings that was built by the East India Trading Company. The history that this place represents alone is wild. There is a monument to Charlotte Canning, who was the first Viceroy of India, as well as a painter and an artist in her own right. There's actually an entire popular dessert named after her called the Lady Kenny. I didn't try it, but I wish that I did. It looks delicious. There's also a monument commemorating the Black Hole of Calcutta, in which supposedly 146 British prisoners were confined into a room measuring just 14 feet by 8 feet overnight, of which only 23 of them survived. And honestly, even that is just scratching the surface of one of the places that we visited on this tour. That's how jam-packed with history Calcutta is. I mean, I could talk all day about every site we visited. There is so much to learn about this city. But I'm hoping that you'll take the tour yourself, so I'm going to save it for now. Except there is one part of the tour that absolutely blew my mind, and I need to show it to you immediately. The best part of the tour was coming up, and I had no idea that it was even part of the itinerary. We hopped onto a bus and crossed town so that we could reach the iconic Howrah Bridge. Along with the Victoria Memorial, this bridge is easily one of the most iconic images of Calcutta. But we weren't stopping there. We hopped onto a ferry that would take us far up the river to the village of Kumartuli. The ferry ride in and of itself was actually a blast. The breeze was amazing, and even just getting the chance to ride along the river and watch the city go by would have been worth the ticket all by itself, even if we just turned around and went back. But no, we got off the boat, and I quickly learned that Kumartuli is a very special place. And I was about to see one of the coolest and artsiest places that I had ever been in my life. Kumartuli was the traditional potter's quarter of Calcutta, and these days the residents continue to work with clay, except now they use mud from the holy river Ganga to create incredible statues that are used for various Hindu ceremonies that take place in Calcutta and beyond. It's a skill that has been passed down in these families for generations, going back literally hundreds of years. Different stations within the village all have their own specialties within the idol creation process. Whether that's in sculpting or adorning or painting or whatever, everyone sort of works together to make these beautiful masterpieces. The biggest festival that uses these statues is called the Durga Puja, and it takes place every fall. On the 10th day of the festival, the statues are actually sent down the river, and they eventually dissolve, and the mud returns back to where it came from. It's beautiful. It's poetic, it's artistic. I was so into this. From there, we hopped into one of Kolkata's signature old-timey yellow cabs. I love these so much. And made our way back down to the city center, where we did what all artists do when we're not creating, went to a cafe. Did I say all artists? I meant all artists except for me. I generally don't drink coffee unless there's some special reason to do so, but I would say this counts as a special reason. We walked along College Street, where I appropriately learned about many of the great thinkers and humanitarians who came from Calcutta. It's a city that can claim it has produced 6 Nobel laureates, which is incredible. One thing that students and artists have in common is that they love cafes. And so it makes sense that one of the most bustling and historic places that you can visit in the area is a coffee shop. It's the College Street Coffee House, or just Indian Coffee House as it's labeled out front. It's been around since 1876 and is known as being the meeting place for so many famous artists and so dumb. Artists, scholars, and writers. We drank some iced coffee and ate an onion pakoda. It all felt very collegiate. I wish I was wearing like a cool varsity jacket. Would have been perfect. The coffee sadly signaled the end of my tour with Ptolemy, but it was absolutely amazing. It was so original and filled with creativity, and I highly recommend taking this tour if you're visiting Calcutta. I'm putting the link down in the description. If you want to book this tour, please use it and request Ptolemy. You will have such a great experience. I mean, I learned so much. I did still have one place left to see though, and it was a big one, and now I had to do it on my own. Artists are generally very passionate, not just about art, but about social change. Kolkata, with its huge student and artistic-based population, is a major hub in the fight against social injustice throughout India. It's inspiring, and it goes way back to Kolkata's time under British occupation. With all of that, I think it's an absolutely hilarious fuck you to Britain that Kolkata's Victoria Memorial, the largest monument to a monarch anywhere in the world, has an upper floor that is primarily dedicated to celebrating the revolutionaries who fought for and ultimately ended British occupation in India. Now look, before the history buffs come for me in the comments, I know it's all much more nuanced than that, and there were 2 world wars and money and a million other factors in play. But like, come on, it's still hilarious, and I love it. I love the people of Calcutta. All that said, the memorial itself is actually very stunning, both inside and out. I would say that along with the gardens surrounding it, it is up there with the Taj Mahal as one of the 2 most beautiful structures in all of India. It's so underrated. I actually almost didn't even visit because I didn't think that I needed to, but I'm so glad that I did. Actually, to be honest, that's sort of how I feel about Kolkata in general. I'm so glad that I decided to go, but I wasn't finished yet. I wanted to do one last weird artsy thing before I left. Everyone loves to say that Mumbai is India's New York City. And you know, in the island sense, with the cost of living, all that, yeah, sure, it is. But I actually think that Mumbai is more like Los Angeles, and that Kolkata is the one that's actually like New York City. Or maybe even Boston. The people there are real artists. They're in it for the craft and for the joy of creation. That creation carries from theater to sculpture to writing to artistry and beyond, and certainly continues into their food and drink. And so I decided on my last night that I was going to visit a place near my hotel that served their own craft beer. It just felt right. It's a brewery called Double Down, and I had fully walked in before I realized that it's also a club. It's a brewery/club. This is a whole new level of creativity. I was confused and impressed. I was also intimidated, but you know, I had to stick with the theme. So in true tormented artist fashion, I didn't dance. I just sat down at the bar and ordered some food and some cider. And what I ordered at this bar/brewery was this incredible, and I mean truly incredible, set of bao. Like some of the best that I have ever eaten. And of course, I finished it off with a brownie and ice cream, as you do. It was weird. It was unique. In some ways, I think that this whole scene can be described as performance art. I want to go 500 more times. It was the perfect, weird, artistic way for me to end my time in India's cultural hub, Calcutta.